Climate risk and the impact on island communities. Hi, my name is John Morris, and I'd like to talk to you about some of the impact that climate change has, has been having on certain island communities. We in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico are U.S. territory, and uh, we would hope to enjoy the same support or response effort that the mainland or the contiguous United States uh, receive, but that is not the case. When a disaster is declared within the United States, the response effort seems to be a more robust or faster response. Granted that we are island nations or island countries, and the challenges that we face, that all our support would come by either air or sea. Now, there are limitations to that. We do not receive, since we are a U.S. territory, from certain foreign nations that may be willing to support us due to the limitations in the Jones Act and other policies. So we rely on ourselves. Unlike the United States, where you have highways connecting states, train, rail system, and the airline system that can go from state to state, whereas governors or states have developed or agreements or MOUs, memorandum of understanding, for support during a disaster. And they can receive support even prior to the declaration by the president. Prior to the federal government getting there, they can receive support from neighboring states. Now, the challenges we face that, especially in St. Thomas, where our resources are all imported. There's no GDP except for tourism. Tourism is the drive for the Virgin Islands. That's where we make our money. That's what supports the economy, and we have to weather the storm, so to speak, until support comes from the mainland. We can't depend on Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is impacted as we are, and the infrastructure in Puerto Rico is just as bad, even more so, granted that it's a larger island than the Virgin Islands. So some of the challenges that islands face, every island might have a different challenge. For instance, Dominica, the vulnerabilities in Dominica, Dominica get 100 to 300 inches of rain a year. So the land is already saturated, and there's about 300, and it has about 300 tributaries. So hurricane dumping 1 to 3 inches of rain on that island, there's going to be flooding. There's going to be mass the landslides. So that impacts the island community of Dominica. And St. Thomas is basically 1,400 feet above sea level. So at those heights, wind speed, that's one of the problem that St. Thomas would face because of the higher levels, the altitude. St. Croix not as much because St. Croix is flatter, so flooding would be something that St. Croix would face, and St. John a little mountainous also. So this is St. Thomas, this is Magens Bay, and this is what attracts tourism, or so to speak GDP, and that supports the economy. This is Magens Bay after the hurricane. You wouldn't see too many tourists come visit the island to support the island to see this. And this is St. Croix, before and after. So Dominica, landslides and agricultural devastation Dominica has a large agricultural uh, or robust agricultural system, but that was devastated by the hurricane. So now you have in the island not just uh, trying to bounce back from a hurricane, a disaster. Now you have the agricultural department that's in crisis. How do you protect or mitigate? How do you support or respond to that effort? Whereas a country that could have sustained itself now it cannot. So those dynamics, some of the things that emergency managers need to think about when responding. So global warming. Global warming seems to be affecting not just our climate, but the coastal waters. That's a hawk-billed turtle and a banded butterfly. I was an environmental specialist with the Division of Fish and Wildlife, and one of the things that we were aware of is that increased temperatures, water temperatures, cause coral to bleach, meaning that there's an algae that supports the coral life, energies, and food. And without that, in about 10 days, the corals start dying out. So, with the increased temperatures, the shock to the coral animal, the algae leaves, and that affects the ecosystem. Whereas without a food source, the fish leave or the fish die out. And this is Solomon Island. Due to global warming, 300 years ago, this was lush jungle island above sea level. And scientists have speculated that a 7-degree increase in global temperature will affect about 1 billion people. So we are looking at, on a massive scale, migrations and the movement of individual. It's not just going to affect individuals now, it's going to affect the animal or fisheries population. Coastal waters and coral reefs play an important role in supporting diverse species such as migratory birds nesting turtles, local sea life, and pelagic. Pelagics are fish that follow the thermocline and like dolphin, sailfish, wahoo, mahi-mahi. So with the dying off of the coral reef, where the smaller fish that live around the coral reef attracts the bigger fish, you impact not just the impact is not just to the island itself. The impact is to sport fishing, because sport fishing is a big tourist attraction, and the impact is to migratory animals. So you'll find migratory animals may even change their pattern if the food source is not available. So that impacts, that the cascading effect impacts not just that, it also impacts the fisheries, whereas fishermen who ply their trade in supporting their families with a lack of fish, now they're hurting. The economy will hurt. So it's not just the fisheries, it's not just the population, but it's the whole communities. So small fish not available, you impact the habitat of the fisheries, you impact the economy of the island. That's a desolated stag coral desert. Tourists, I wouldn't like this around my island. Tourists would not come to see this. Now, fads, fish aggregation devices are sort of a small ecosystem for smaller fish to attract bigger fish. I ran a grant for the Division of Fish and Wildlife where we use fads we set fads around the island of St. Thomas just to support the abundance of the fisheries and sport fishing, and it works. So this is one of the initiatives that could be a little more robust to supporting island communities and the loss of reefs. There's a picture from a ROV, a remote operating device or vehicle, ROV, and I used to fly one of those. Take pictures just like this, and they work. FADs do work. So a robust reef gives you and supports a robust ecosystem. Thank you.